Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful. I'd like to welcome you, dear viewers, to another in our series, In the Light of Islam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May Allah's peace and blessings be on each and every one of you. In this segment, we have some questions. One which concerns marriage and people's backgrounds with regards to marriage, and another one which concerns having another wife, plural marriage that is, or polygamy, and the third one which deals with issues of intoxicants, alcohol. If we have time, we'll bring in a couple others also. Now, the first question is from Naveed in Ajman. Naveed writes, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dear Dr. Bilal Phillips, I enjoy your program very much and would like you to answer a few of my questions. The question I have for you is, I've met a Muslim girl at work. We are both from families that are not very religious, but good people, really, not doing any real evil. We want to marry and also become better Muslims. However, our parents won't hear of it, only because my family are so-called muhajirs and hers are Punjabi. What are we to do? This is an issue about which I spoke in a previous program about the rights of people to marry. If this young man, that is Naveed, wishes to marry, he wants to do so and be better Muslims. He is himself practicing. The girl he wants to marry is also a practicing Muslim. And he sees this as something good for his religion. She sees it as something good for her religion. Of course, their families should agree. But the reasons for disagreement, and both of these people, the young man and young lady, are both Pakistanis, but one is Muhajir and the other one is Punjabi, meaning from different backgrounds, but from Pakistan. This shows us to what degree, the kinds of tribalistic or cultural differences, have influenced now people's choices in terms of marriage. So, really, the families should not be objecting. This issue of Muhajir or Punjabi, this is of course has no basis in Islam. What should be the concern should be whether the people are religious, whether the young man is able to look after the young lady, etc. The fact that the Naveed had mentioned in his letter that, their families were not very religious, but they're good people, not doing any real evil, this is, of course, something of a contradiction, because if they're not very religious, meaning, that means that they're going to be doing evil. It's not any real evil, but here is real evil. It's an example of real evil. Because where a person is ignorant of the religion, they're not practicing the religion, then culture, customs take the place of religion, and that becomes the basis under which they determine good and evil. And of course, the end result of that will be evil. Because the only valid basis for us to determine good and evil is from revelation, from the religion, from God. As if it's left up to human beings, then our scale of judging things is often distorted by our backgrounds, our families, our environment. All these types of factors cause us to make bad choices, which may seem to us good because of these cultural factors, but in fact they become bad, they become evil, they become harmful to society. So what should this couple do? Well, my first advice would be to try to advise the parents if the parents don't come around, try to get others to advise them. Get the imam of the mosque or whatever, somebody who they respect, to go and speak to them, to try to encourage them. And in the end, of course, in the case of the husband, the young man, I mean, he doesn't have to get his parents' permission anyway. I mean, the guardianship is specific for the young lady. So where in the end, the father is still refusing, she has the right to go to the courts and have the court override the guardianship of her father. And they can act, the judge, the qadi in the court, can act as the guardian for her in marriage. So if they're very serious about it, as I said, I mean, we don't necessarily need to jump to the stage of the courts right from the very beginning. First, try to advise them. Then try to get those who are close to them to advise them. Imam of the mosque, other relatives who may be more religious or whatever, to advise them. Try whatever means first. And then if there seems to be no way out, the only thing remaining is the courts, then one goes to the courts and speaks to the judge, presents the case. The judge may call in the father, find out the reason for his objection, because the judge is not just going to take the word. The young man comes in and says, I want to marry this girl, but her father doesn't allow us because I'm Punjabi or she's Punjabi and I'm Muhajir. No, he's not going to accept that word just like that. He will invite the father in and talk to the father and find out what is his objections. Now, if his objection is, because it may be something else and not that. So, but if his objection is in fact that, then the judge has the right to either instruct him, listen, this is not valid, marry them, or he can override the guardianship of the father and become the guardian of the girl, and they can go ahead and get married. And this again, of course, as we said, is amongst the signs of our times. The people have strayed far away from the teachings of Islam. So cultural and customary traditions have taken precedence over Islamic traditions, which in the end leads to harm to families, harm to individuals, and give a very wrong impression of what Islam is. When people hear of this, that people cannot marry, they're being forced into marriages and things like that, they tend to think this is Islam. This is, of course, these are false impressions about Islam. These are not the true teachings of Islam at all, and they present a very bad image of Islam around the world. On many occasions, I've been confronted with these issues where people, non-Muslims, have questioned me about this, and unfortunately, I've had to spend so much time defending, Islam and clarifying this to people who may have some interest in Islam, but are discouraged because of the current practices of Muslims. The other question is from Fayaz, also from UAE, in Sharjah. He writes in, Dear Dr. Bilal Phillips, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, I hope that you're in good health. I have a question I'd like to raise. I have a wife in my home country. My salary is not very large, but I want to marry a second wife here in the UAE, as I fear transgression. This lady is working and willing to help me financially. Can I marry her? Would it be right in Islam? The first question here, the gentleman is saying, that is Fayaz is saying, that his salary is not very large, meaning he really doesn't have sufficient salary to look after his second wife. I mean, what he's sending home for his family back in his home country, is just sort of enough. But he fears transgression, that is, he fears, entering into some illicit relations here, committing adultery, etc. So he desires to marry somebody else here. And there is a lady who is interested in marriage and is able to look after herself financially. Is it permissible for him to marry? Since one of the conditions, because we understand one of the conditions of marriage is that the husband looks after the wife. The mahar, that is the giving of this dowry, which is given properly Islamically by the man to the woman, not as is the custom in other religions that the woman's family gives to the man, and ignorantly Muslims have also entered into such practices where, you know, they commonly, especially in the subcontinent, different parts of the subcontinent, Sri Lanka, different parts of India, etc., where Muslims there, you know, are giving what is in fact dowry to the males to marry their daughters or sisters, whatever. And this is not from Islam. But we said that this giving is sort of symbolic of the man's preparedness to look after his wife. Now, if he's not able, but his wife says, I can take care of myself, is it permissible for him to marry her? Yes.